Hello, and welcome to the Present Fathers Podcast, the podcast that explores climbing the mountain of fatherhood together. My name is George, and I am joined by Dustin, Justin, and Brandon, and together we make the Present Fathers Podcast. In today's episode, we are going to be discussing this podcast. This is our first ever episode, and we wanted to make this first one focused around who we are so you get to know us a little bit, talk about the podcast and what our goal is and what we hope to accomplish with this, and kind of just overall be a good foundational start to what we are setting out to do. With that said, it was also just Father's Day, so we figured, what better time to start a podcast about fatherhood and kind of helping each other be better for our kids, for our spouses, and just to be better men in general than right after Father's Day. So that's kind of the intro that we'd like to start with this first one. And with that, we're going to go around the horn and kind of talk about who each of us is. And we'll just have a discussion based on, kind of what we're hoping to accomplish here. So with that, we'll kick it over to Dustin. So Dustin, please introduce yourself a little bit about who you are, your background, what you're looking forward to in this podcast, and, kind of what you aim to achieve with it. So Dustin, over to you.
Absolutely. You got it. And George, thanks for hosting this. This is going to be a lot of fun. So my name's Dustin. I live down in Florida, and my son, Lucas, is 2.5 years old. So having him has been just the greatest joy in my life, and it's been just an absolute blast. So, being the best father possible, looking at the challenges, as well as the joys with you guys is something I'm really excited about doing. I'm an only child, didn't have any siblings, and I wasn't around kids a whole lot when I was a kid. So being a dad has been really new for me. I hadn't changed a diaper, until it was my own son, and I changed his, and he peed on me so many times, just blasted me, and that was a really interesting learning process, going through all that stuff. I do anesthesia, so I've put a lot of kids to sleep. So if your kids have ever needed ear tubes or anything like that, yep, go to sleep, little guy. We got so
you go night,
a lot
night.
of things.
Awesome.
Exactly. Good night. But obviously, it's a little different when they're awake than it is when they're asleep. So just super excited, to explore being a dad with you guys, being the best dad that we can. I think a lot of men really don't take the time to talk to other men, about being a dad. I think women do a better job than we do, quite frankly, of talking about parenting and, supporting each other. And so this is just a huge opportunity for me to help you guys, but, to also ask for your assistance and, just really be the best dad that I can. So thanks for the opportunity. Awesome.
Well, Dustin, we're very glad that, one, you're part of our group, and two, that we have known you for quite a while in each of our lives. And I'm excited to go down this journey with you. Brandon, I guess we'll just go in counterclockwise order here on my screen. So Brandon, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, just like Dustin?
Sure. Thank you, George. I appreciate it. I'm Brandon, and as you can see, this guy over here on my left-hand side, in top left, is my twin brother. We are identical twin brothers. We're a family of 4 boys, so we grew up in a very hectic household. As far as my kids, I have 2 children. My son, Benjamin, is 7. My daughter, Bayla, is 3. They're kind of night and day personality-wise, but I love each of them in their individuality. As far as my work, I'm an information systems guy who's recently transitioned into the finance field, doing research analyst based stuff. And so I'm very analytical. I like to, structure things, and I love to master different things. I'm a big do-it-yourselfer and love to do everything myself, whether it's cars, house stuff, plumbing, electrician stuff. So kind of a jack of all trades, but I hope to, hopefully be able to inject some fun things, some knowledge, and, help other dads out if they're looking to start other things. And so as far as what I want to do on the podcast, I just want to let dads know that, they're not alone when they go through tough times. And we all go through it. We all have a burden of responsibility and leadership as the head of our households. And, I hope that we can encourage and grow one another as iron sharpens iron. And so that's what I look forward to. So.
Awesome, Brandon. All right. Now to your twin, Justin.
Yeah, sorry guys. I had my wife in the
No,
background trying to talk to me.
I
So,
know it's all good, man. This,
anyways, that
what's
being
more
said, I'm
real than
Justin.
parents
As
having interruptions,
Yeah,
you know?
marriage, man. The fruit that keeps on giving. So anyways, all joking aside, I'm Justin, and Justin's gonna get me laughing if he doesn't stop. Um, I am in Louisiana. I'm the newest father, and I'm actually the link that brought all of this group together. George, I've known for probably 17, 18 years now. Brandon, most of my life. Dustin, I've known, I'd say probably almost a decade, right? Yeah. So we just kind of really started thinking about this, and it was kind of a brainchild project, and I guess we just kind of took the dive and said, we all had the same ideas and thoughts and processes that we really wanted to get into this. And I think what I personally want to get into is, the hard conversations, the things that nobody talks about, the stigmas, the demons that fathers have to face every day, and not only their marriage and relationships with other people and work and everything, but also with their children and what they have to learn and try to teach their children so that they're not going through the mistakes that they made. That being said, I've been in the medical industry for about 5 years now, doing medical device sales and on and off in the car industry as well. So a little bit of both worlds, but primarily sales. So that being said, my background's kind of a kinesiology, sports medicine style thing. So kind of similar to Dustin over there. So, but yeah, that's about what I've got.
Not so similar in gun size, though. I doubt. I don't, and none of us can live up to the man, the myth,
Nah,
the legend that is Quadzilla. So,
Quadzilla, man.
yeah,
Put the
He
cookie
is the
down.
biggest.
put that cookie down. All right, Justin, appreciate you being here, brother. Yeah, so I guess I'm next, last but not least. I am the shortest of the bunch by a pretty large margin, actually. My name is George. I live in Tennessee. I am not a native to Tennessee. My profession brought me out here years ago. I grew up on the West Coast, so very different upbringing probably than the rest of the gentlemen here on the call, but um, I have one brother and one sister who are both younger. Grew up in a pretty full household. Our grandparents lived with us for most of my life too, so there's a lot of people under one roof. Um, I was always super active, all that kind of stuff. So pretty crazy childhood. Just we were always bouncing all over, doing all kinds of stuff. Multiple sports and activities and things like that. But as a professional in my career, I started out in the military and active duty, hence being in Tennessee. And after about 5 years, I got out and embarked in the civilian world, where I jumped into IT services, which is it's a very good career path. Not the most exciting in terms of if I tried to talk to you about it, but we'll just leave it at that for now. But I do sales within that industry and travel a lot with that. So I have in the past, let's see, 2019, I joined the National Guard to kind of pretend to be in the Army still a little bit, but yeah, that's kind of my professional life. I have one daughter, and she is on her way to 7 years old, and I've been married for 8.5 years now to my wife. Um, yeah, that's my parenting and husbandry credentials, I guess. But yeah, I am really excited for this podcast because just personally, kind of looking at our culture in America and what is modern man and things like that. There's not a lot of good outlets, at least that I can see, that's in mainstream media or popular culture, and in a lot of ways, people, or at least our society, almost degrades men in a way that, like, it's not okay to be a strong, well-rounded man who takes care of his family and friends. And so I'm hoping that we can maybe be a voice that's counterculture to that, and get back to really what made our parents and grandparents' generations better. And I think that's what they had right, of that, a successful marriage is between a man and a woman. It takes partnership and hard work and dedication, and to raise your kids is the exact same commitment. Different relationship, of course, but it is a labor of love and responsibility. And so, I'm hoping that together here, the four of us can maybe at least be one little outlet for the men out there trying to be the best dads they can be, the best husbands they can be, the best boyfriends, and then also just as individuals, grow as individuals, because I think that's part of what we should be. So enough about what I'm looking forward to bringing as the podcast. I think collectively we can all agree that the goal of this podcast is to be a positive voice for fathers. And this is our first episode. In the future, we'll probably hope to have some guests and things like that, and we will have a topic for each episode that we do, kind of focusing the conversation. But at the end of the day, we're just a bunch of guys being honest and being transparent, and with that, we just hope to do some good in the world with that. So we also, I would probably speak for everyone here, we all collectively want to grow each as well and learn from each other and strengthen each other. So That is also kind of an ulterior motive from this. And we've got some fun ideas there, but so Dustin, I'll kick it over to you to talk about, because you came up with the idea of each week we will kind of assign some homework for each other and kind of, set the focus for the next, podcast episode, and just kind of, what inspired you to do that, and what our viewers potentially could look forward to learning themselves.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, a little teaser.
Yeah.
I've been interested in finance since I was a little kid. I was saving money and doing side hustles and all that kind of stuff since I was about age 12. It's kind of in my blood. My grandfather is a fiduciary. He's managed money for the better part of 60 years. I grew up with the expressions, pay yourself first, all kinds of stuff like that. So it's always been a real passion of mine. So the idea of doing some homework was really exciting to me, because it means that we're all going to learn from each other. We all have our different specialties, things we're excited about. And I think all of us share something that a lot of people don't, which is intellectual curiosity. I firmly believe that anyone that I meet that is an intellectually curious person, right, that has a desire to learn, is an interesting, fun person, whether it's something didn't think I was interested in. If I see their passion and their excitement and their skill, I'm going to find a way to connect with that person and like them. And all three of you gentlemen have that. And that's, something I really respect, about each of you. And all of us have very different interests and passions. But we also have the respect for each other to learn about each other's different passions and what we're good at. So for me, finance is just something I absolutely love. And especially right now in this market, if you have any kind of investments, it's been really challenging the past 6 months to a year. Unless you were short the entire market, which is less than 1% of people do that, so that's a very unusual kind of behavior. You did not do well, over the past year. That was just kind of unavoidable. And so navigating these, types of markets, managing risk is one of my personal passions. I've read a lot about it recently. And I think I have a lot of valuable information to share in it. So I'm excited in our next episode to talk about risk management. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much money you make if you lose it all. So you have to, just like you protect your family, you protect your wife, your children, you have to protect your money. Because if you don't, you're going to be working till you're 90, and nobody wants to do that. So that's a super important thing that I'm very passionate about.
You don't want to be like,
finances are.
As I say, you don't want to be breaking rocks.
Finances are definitely important. Dustin has to figure out a way to pay for all those cookies. Definitely.
Yeah. Put the cookie down. Yeah. Awesome. Dustin, we're glad that you kind of came up with that idea. I love it, because it'll help hold us accountable to each other, to this podcast, and it'll help ensure that we are, practicing what we preach, and we're talking about these good ideas and what makes good fathers. So we got to live it too, right? And as soon as you said the idea, I think we all just were like, hey, what a great idea. That has to be a core feature of our podcast. And thank you for volunteering the first topic on, financial responsibility. And we will share, some of those notes and where to find what we're going to talk about in the next episode, kind of in the description of this one. And Dustin, just again, thanks for that. And so, yeah, teaser, next one will be on financial responsibility. And then we will maybe flip a coin or something to see which of the twins picks the next topic for the third episode we'll do. Anyway, so I've kind of talked a lot here. Dustin talked about what we're going to do in terms of homework. Justin, anything you want to just bring up, kind of just riffing off of what we're talking about now, and keep the conversation going.
Yeah, so actually I'd like to kind of backtrack just a sec. So,
Sure.
sorry if you guys see me laughing randomly. My wife is preparing a meal for our son and was trying to walk through the house in the back of my video, so my shoulders got really broad and moved. That being said, she was making me laugh because we're crazy together. She is a pediatric dentist, so she stays busy, but she knows this is got time. So she is absolutely hilarious. She's funny, and if you ever see me laughing, that's probably why.
She's on the other side
Either
going,
that or laughing at one of these goofballs. But yeah, just to kind of reiterate some things, Brandon and I come from a family of four boys. Um, we actually, Brandon married his high school sweetheart, so he's been a great example of father and a husband to everybody that we know, just because him and Summer have been together for how long, Brandon?
We are at 21 going on 22 years together.
I'd kill somebody.
that's wild.
Not really, just kidding. That's on video. But no, all joking aside, uh, I
Yeah,
am
the
the newest
FBI's got you
father.
on a list
My
now.
son, yeah, I know. Who cares? Whatever. I'll get on it anyways. Bennett is almost 4 months old, so I'm the newest father here. I know Brandon is the oldest, so it's a little bit of a different spectrum. So it's going to be opposing, uh, I guess, viewpoints in certain things, or he's going to have more intellect on something than I will because he's experienced it. His son's a little bit older than mine. That being said, yeah. So finances are a hard one because if we go through, some of the hard conversations I talked about, I've actually divorced, went through a really, really nasty one, and it hurt my finances. So someone like Dustin, who came along in my life, has been detrimental to me knowing, hey, what books do I need to read? What do I need to study up on? And then I have a few other friends, a gentleman named Blake, who kind of gives me a lot of insider information on what I should be putting in the stocks, but I still feel like I don't know enough. And running your house is easy, and that's fine if you can get a set, schedule and you know what you need to pay every month. But the cash flow is the hard part, especially if we're not all on anesthesia like Dustin. But all joking aside, my wife does fine. I'm joking, obviously, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think finances is a big thing because that's actually something that I had massive, massive, you know, fights and blowouts with my ex-wife about. Just when people don't know how to understand to control your money and your spending, and you want to live a lifestyle that you are not conducive to with your income, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And it strains marriages, but it also strains your children. And a lot of people, unfortunately, these days don't think about their kids first. And uh, being a new father, I can say it's completely changed my perspective on things.
Yeah.
I want to put every
Absolutely.
dime away. I want my son to have the best future possible. I want him to go to the best schools. I want
Mhm.
him to have all the best sports equipment or whatever the hell he's interested in. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, Dustin.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what you bring.
It's kind of crazy too, and we'll definitely talk about it more next week. But we've all gone to school and we were educated and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, less than maybe 2% of my formal education talked about managing your money, and and like just think about how ludicrous that is. It's a it's essentially table stakes of being an adult, not even a parent, right? It's just managing basic finances and anything like that, and it's just not even taught really. So if your parents don't teach you, who does, right? And that's just kind of wild. We could. There's a whole lot of topics like that too, where it's just not really taught anymore or enforced in a way, and all the more reason that us as dads and parents need to learn it ourselves to pass it on, because and if you don't take that responsibility, you're kind of just taking a gamble with your kids' future, because there's no guarantee they're going to learn it on their own, right? So
Yeah, and I'd have to say I'm pretty excited about the finance thing too, just because I'm diving headfirst into that field from an IT information systems analytical standpoint, and touching base on what you guys were saying about learning from others. I feel like as we learn about each other in this podcast, and other people learn about us, they'll learn about themselves as well. So it's kind of like a journey, and I feel like smart people learn from their mistakes, but the real sharp ones learn from the mistakes of others.
mhm.
So financial literacy is one of the biggest issues in households for just not just divorce rates, but poverty issues, and children suffer from it. So it's one of those things that just kind of branches off into so many facets of a father's life. And like you guys were saying, it's really easy to make money, but for a lot, it's really hard to keep it. And the keeping part, just because you're making X amount of dollars doesn't mean that you're going to keep it. In fact, you can lose it quickly. So like Dustin was saying, you have to learn to protect it, to nestle it something like somewhere safe, and to obviously diversify. So yeah, I'm very excited. But as far as the homework's concerned, just so people know, in the next podcast, what are we going to do there, George?
Yeah, so Dustin, I think you had a book in mind, right? And you had shared some notes on that. So what we can do is maybe I can pin it as a top comment to this video when we put it up, and then that way people can see those kind of cliff notes. Dustin, you want to talk about what that book is, so in case people want to actually go get it themselves and read the whole thing?
Perfect. So one of my favorite jobs when I was in college, I was a note taker. So ostensibly the idea was, in the class, if there were someone with learning disabilities, a handicap, they were blind or deaf, they could use this service to have the resources they needed to succeed in the class. And invariably, every time I was able to do that job in the class, I got an A+. Right? Because I took notes, I made these great cliff notes for people that they were able to study from. And of course, in the process, when you spend that time to professionally make notes like that, you're going to ace the course. So I did it every single time. And so as some homework for myself, I would try to do the same thing. If I read like a fun novel about, elves and orcs, I'm not going to take notes on it, right? I'm not too worried about that. But if it's a book that I want to learn from and gain some skills from, I'm going to take notes on it. And so for the past couple of years, every time I read a book that is worth retaining information from, I take a bunch of notes on it. So this book that I just read is by an author named Morgan Housel. It's called The Psychology of Money. And it's pretty interesting. It doesn't necessarily talk about what to invest in or how to save money. It talks about our psychological and emotional relationship with money. And Brandon, it sounds like you've read it, and so I'm curious to hear your take. I'm excited, but I took a bunch of notes on it, sent it to you guys. So if you don't get a chance to read it, just go over the notes, and then you'll kind of understand some of the concepts that I go through on it. But bottom line, a couple of bad emotional decisions can ruin your finances. And so it's super, super important to come at decisions you make from a clear head. A lot of people day trade drunk. There's crazy stories about it, where they have hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line. They'll drink a 6-pack of beer and a couple of whiskeys, and they lose it all. A lot of men, especially, were guilty of this, will treat investing as gambling. And those are two very different things. Yeah. Investing is not gambling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Go enjoy. Right. Exactly. So anyway, the book is called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Absolutely excellent read. New York Times bestseller. It's gotten a lot of accolades, and I highly recommend it. Luckily for anyone who's listening to the podcast, if you don't have time to read the book, I've taken the notes for you. So you're good to go in that department.
Yeah.
And you can listen to our kind of analysis of it. And I'll branch into some other things beyond just the book, but that is what will inform a lot of what I'll talk about.
Awesome. All right. Well, I definitely need to get on that because it's just 2 weeks away till the next one. So I will tack that into my list of things to do. And you, dear viewer, if you decide you want to partake in that as well, then now you know. So let's maybe talk about some of the other things that we hope to maybe discuss as topics in the future. Just off the top of my head, I think so we've already got finances is going to be kind of our first one. I think for me, I'd like to maybe talk about another kind of almost dirty word in culture today is like fitness and taking care of yourself. I think that would be a really good one. Because there's a lot of different, people think fitness and they think like, Arnold Schwarzenegger bodybuilder, right? A lot of times, like at least that's the image that pops in people's head. And, I think just on that topic, not to go too in depth, but, it kind of goes into like, what are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to compete in a competition, or are you just trying to live longer and feel better and all that kind of stuff? So that's a very broad, topic. So I would love to delve into that, because I know that for a lot of people, they're very different places in their lives. Maybe they have injuries, all kinds of crazy stuff. Illnesses that makes it so it's harder for you to exercise. So I think that'd be a really valuable one. Brandon, what other topics do you think that at least in your mind right now that you're going to want to bring to the table on this podcast, just to give people a teaser of things that we're going to bring?
Sure. So I'm the kind of person who loves to just frantically and daily learn. I am like Dustin was saying, I am a constant searcher of knowledge. I believe that, there are people in this life that will create books and notes and things like that that took decades of hardship and blood, sweat, and tears to create and to condense. Because when you master something, you can explain it simply. And so these authors or these artists, they bring forth this knowledge that they've spent decades or a lifetime dedicated to, and within 2 to 3 hours, you can learn all the stuff that they learned the hard way easily. So I'm an avid book reader. I'm always a searcher of knowledge. I like to, like, if I don't know something and it's something that's relevant to my life, I will always pursue it until I'm a master at it, and then I kind of get bored and I move to the next thing. So one of the things that I've been really hungering for in my search to be a better dad and a better husband, I kind of started this journey 8 years ago, was CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and psychology. And then as my kids, especially after I had two kids, child behavioral psychology. I've kind of dove into all those little separate fields there. So psychology would be one that I would love to absolutely dive into, because the more that we can learn about ourselves, the more we can break cycles that our kids will never have to face or continue on. So, breaking generational curses, and just, having a better, more structured life. When you get the smaller things down on a daily basis, you've got 80% of it knocked down, and it's like, man, your life's so much easier at that point. You actually start to enjoy it. But it takes a lot of hard work and introspection. Especially if you've had past traumas, things like that. So I'd really love to dive into that. Another subject that I would like to dive into eventually is just like learning how to learn. One of the things that college kind of did for me was it taught me the necessary steps, like taking good notes or just really staying dedicated and disciplined to learning something until I mastered it. And so, learning how to learn is a very important thing that a lot of people struggle at. And I feel like if we can kind of help dads do that, they can, the sky's the limit kind of deal. And obviously psychology and a couple other things will play into that. But, some dads might not have had the pleasure or the privilege to go to college. So I feel like it would be a great opportunity to try to help advance other dads as well.
Sure. I like that. Justin, what about you? What are some things that, some topics that you're going to want to bring to the table in the next several weeks?
I'm big on the hard conversations, man. Struggles, talking about, the things that fathers hide or kind of bury deep down. I like people dealing with the things that they're not comfortable talking with. I love uncomfortable situations and things because it's where you fail or learn to grow the most. So that's definitely one of the things and topics I'd like to bring up. But I like sports and things like that, things that can kind of get your mind off of being a dad sometimes, and hobbies and things like that, the great outdoors, things that you can do with your kids. I think it's great to keep your kids away from all the electronics and all the bullshit that everything's going on right now in the world. It's not a very good thing when, well, let's just be real. 90% of the media is trying to brainwash our future generations. So we won't go into politics about that right now. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of safeguards we need to talk about and things that are out there that could threaten, our future generations and our kids. And I also like to talk about, communication. I think communication is one of the most detrimental things that you can do for not only yourself and your spouse, but for your kids. I think honestly, with communication, my wife's an awesome communicator. Uh, she and I literally talk about everything, good, bad, ugly, whatever the case may be. We are not afraid to talk about it. She's Cajun, so she definitely talks about it with me. Let me tell you, uh, whether I want to hear it or not, but it's good. You have to have someone that pushes you and makes you want to strive to be a better person every day. and I definitely get that with her. So as a father figure, you want to be someone that pushes your children, and even if it's uncomfortable. And I think that's something that nobody really talks about a lot
Yeah.
is, the things that are not easy to do, and teaching your kids that the uneasy path is usually the best path. Makes you stronger. I know, George, you've said countless times there are, it's a saying about, strong men make easy times, weak men make hard times. And,
Yeah, the
that's so
cycle.
true. And I think we're seeing
Yeah.
that right now. We're seeing the unfortunately the bottom of the barrel on that cycle right now. So yeah, there's a lot playing into being a father, and I have a lot of concerns about the kind of world we have right now, and it's not in the best shape right now, especially our country.
Yeah.
So it's nice seeing places like Florida. I know Dustin's talking about finances. Florida, Governor DeSantis just passed where, if I remember correctly, all high schools will
Yeah, they
have
have
a
to teach like an
finance class that will
economics.
teach you
Yeah.
at least, yeah, two curricular courses that talk about finances and taxes and the hardships that you're going to come across when you get out
Yeah.
of school that we never learned. I mean, they kind of threw us the wolves like, oh, kid, guess what? The IRS is coming for you.
Yeah,
Good
don't
luck.
quote me. I actually
So
think I want to say like up to like 15 states have actually followed suit already on that and passed a
Oh
similar
man.
good.
thing. So
They need to.
yeah, I mean,
They
so
need to.
you kind of brought up a point that maybe we can have some conversation on. We're not trying to like this isn't a political podcast or anything like that, but I think a lot of what you were just saying. It seems like so much is focused on the negatives, and there's all these horrible influences on our kids and stuff. I think that's true, but I also think it's just that's the loudest voices that are out there. I actually
Mhm.
think there's probably more people like us who are just, they're regular people trying their best and they just want to get through this life in the best way they can and make the best life for their families. Um, but, it's not cool or it's not the trendy thing to talk about holding each other accountable or working hard or things like that, right? So things that used to be commonplace are not, trendy anymore. And so they're not publicized, on platforms and things like that. But I don't think that they're gone. I think they've just been quieted a little bit. And so, I think in the spirit of transparency, that's definitely what one thing we're trying to kind of fight against here on this podcast is to at least be one more voice speaking of what we believe is true. And there's obviously gonna be debate. There'll be differing opinions, and we're gonna hopefully we have some guest speakers on in the future that can bring outside perspectives. We don't want to look at anything myopically. I want to be challenged by people who are either smarter or better or have done more than me. And I think that we can all agree to that. Um, but at least at the core element, I think where our hearts are at is to speak what we believe is true, not be afraid of that, and hopefully it'll resonate with someone out there and help encourage them, or help them feel renewed to keep up the good fight. Because I mean, marriage or a relationship and parenting is it's a daily choice and it's a daily responsibility, and I think that that's not really um, you know told to people enough that look, yeah, there's a lot of great things about it. There's also a lot of hard things about it, and if you don't go in with that expectation, I think a lot of people get in and it starts getting really hard and they just jump ship before they ever really kind of stick it through that point, right? Um, and then you kind of brought up the hard conversation topic. I think maybe down the line too, that's something that if we all feel comfortable, maybe taking turns and just talking about difficult things in our lives. I definitely have in my own marriage. We have gone through a lot of challenges, and thankfully we've both put in the effort and the commitment to forgive each other, love each other through very difficult times, and come out the other side. Um, none of that's really fun to talk about, right? Those bad things in your past. But I think that it also provides learning for others. Brandon, you talked about it, learning from other people's mistakes, so you don't make it yourself. But two, I think it's also, I think men are guilty of we like to isolate really quickly, and we all oh, I'm fine, bro, I'm good, man. How you doing? I'm good. And then deep down, you're
That
just like
person's not fine.
you're a house of cards. You're
You're
just
not.
barely hanging on, and
Yeah.
you don't feel like you always have to be on. You always have to be your best and all that kind of stuff, and that will destroy you. You have to have a place where you have to have other people in your life that you can let your guard down, put down your shield. Um, because it's just I don't think we were created to be that way, right? It's just not human. So I'm kind of rambling now, but these are some of kind of the real conversations that I think we're just going to get into through these episodes, and whatever the topic is, that'll kind of be the foundation of the conversation. But I think we just want to have real talk, real discussion that people can relate to and hopefully learn from. So I'll pause.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I may interject, going back to the influencing, at least the outside, media and all that stuff influence our children. Yes, it's our job to protect them from that kind of stuff and from the outside world, but ultimately, the better fathers that we become and the better our households are, the more our children have a foundational safeguard from the outside world because they have whatever truth. Got the kid coming in, awesome. Whatever truth that you want to set for your children, whatever precedent, it's already concreted in them. Like I guess words of affirmation or whatever it may be. Your household is where it all starts. And I feel like if we want this country to be at a better place, we have to start in our own homes. We have to start with ourselves. Personally, I think there's a lot of different places we could touch on with that, but that's just kind of the basic thing that I think we should focus on is just what helps us to be better fathers and to make others better and to support other fathers as well.
Yep. I agree.
So to dovetail on that real quick, I read a quote by Andre Carpathy. He's the head of artificial intelligence research at Tesla. And he had a fascinating observation. He'd never used TikTok before. And so recently he got on TikTok. And he said that it was the first time in his life that he felt like he was being attacked by an artificial intelligence. He felt that the algorithm and the way that it got into your brain and just kept showing you more and more short videos of things that you wanted to watch. I mean, they've put people on fMRI studies while they were watching TikTok, and the dopamine and the serotonin and all the pleasure centers of the brain just light up like nothing else. I mean, the addictive qualities of this stuff, and that's, as 30-year-old men, I can only imagine how an 8-year-old, responds to that kind of stuff. And of course, absolutely not allowing your children to be around that stuff at all is impossible. Their friends are going to be watching it. So, as the oldest dad here, I did not have access to social media at a young age. I didn't have a Facebook account until I was 20. So my understanding of how a child responds to social media is not going to be the same as you guys who are a little bit younger. You had access to it, at a more formative age. And I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on how children, our children, are going to handle these powerful, literal artificial intelligence attacks. And that's in present day. When my son's 10 instead of 2, I can only imagine what he's going to be exposed to. And I'm excited and I'm nervous. I think the world he's going to grow up in is going to be amazing. I'm not sure I'm going to understand it that well. I'm going to be that old crotchety guy, what's that you're watching there, Sonny?
Yeah. You dang boomer.
Dad, gosh, you don't even know what's wrong with you. I know this is going to happen, right?
Yep.
So I'm very curious to hear your gentlemen's opinions on this stuff. I think it'll be very valuable to me.
Yeah.
I think technology is going to be a huge subject for us as long as we don't go down the rabbit hole too far, but.
Well, I think, Dustin, you raised a really good point, right? Like, I think part of what being I'll reference it. I think this is a future episode for me that I'll make the homework in the future. It's called Tender Warrior, but one of the chapters talks about the 4 pillars of a man, right? Of a father, and 2 of them are, what typically we, masculine, protector, provider, that kind of stuff. You're always on the lookout for the future. But that's one of them, right? And so technology is just another thing you have to be on the lookout for, in the ways that it could be a bad thing. And any positive thing could become a bad thing if it's consuming, right? If it breaks your family apart. So, but yeah, that's a really good point. I think that's definitely something that we keep in mind to prepare a discussion about in the future. Because the other thing too that you raise is, it's like if you don't talk to your kids about something, someone else is going to. Well, TikTok and these other things, that's where they're going to hear it first. And so if you're not vigilant about what they're watching, who they're listening to, who they're subscribed to on YouTube or this kind of stuff, they're going to be getting outside influences that like you would never dream they'd be hearing, and then it could be too late by the time you figure it out. So like, I think you got to be aware of what's going on. Um, I still don't even understand the whole TikTok thing. I think I'm the youngest here, and that's like way,
I've never even had the app.
yeah, I've never had it. I get it. That's a huge trend, but
After I heard that they send your information and it's
Mhm.
like all China based, I was like, yeah, I'm out.
Right. But I mean, a
Sorry.
10-year-old or a 15-year-old doesn't think that through,
Yeah,
right? So
They don't
Yeah,
care.
they just
Yeah.
see an app and something fun, and like he was saying, it's a dopamine hit. And there's a psychologist, a social psychologist. His name is Jonathan Haidt. He wrote a book with one of his friends called "The Coddling of the American Mind," and he also discusses like how suicide and anxiety and depression rates have gone like 4,000 fold
Mhm.
since the introduction of social media. So, my wife and I have already had a conversation that neither one of our kids will have cell phones or at least smartphones. They might have an old school flip phone, but they will not have cell phones that handle smart apps until the age of 16. I don't care how much they fuss, but we already push them to be outdoors playing with friends like we did when we were kids.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that we've kind of used to battle that, and we'll obviously dive in a lot more deeper. But that's a great book if you have extra time and you want to read that. That's an excellent book that discusses those kind of things that social media and AI causes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another topic, and I know this is kind of jumping from place, but one I was just thinking about before I forget it, career focus.
Mhm.
Where we go during the day to get away from, all the things we have going on and dive into something that, we want to focus on and are passionate about. It's a very, very important thing. I think career for me lately has been one of those things. So I'm not going to go into details because of some shifting puzzle pieces. I'll leave it
Mhm.
at that. But um, yeah, it's having the right job is excuse me is very huge in everything for a family dynamic. Just because one, it makes you if you're the provider, which I'm obviously not the provider, I'll lose that battle 10 out of 10 times. But I'm okay with that.
Well, I mean, I
I
would
married a
interject
smart
and say
woman.
there's
She's
there's more to providing than just the financial aspect of it, right?
Correct.
There
Yeah,
there is
yeah. And that's what
provision
I was going to
of
say is,
other. There's other. Yeah.
yeah. So point being, if you're not happy at your work life, sometimes you're going to bring that home.
Mhm.
So it's important to have something that you can go to and enjoy because it takes up a lot of our lives. And if you're always upset because your work is stressing you and it's something you're not a person that can handle that, that's something we definitely need to have a conversation about on this podcast
Yeah.
because as a father, that may be our exit from, reality. It may be something that we're passionate about that we love. And, we need to be able to stop at the end of the day and say, look, I need to leave this there and come back home and have
Yeah.
my family life. But like I said, it can directly correlate and affect everything going on as a father, as a husband or a brother or whatever. So
Yep.
I think that's definitely something that we should talk about in the future as well.
For sure. Okay, I'm gonna take over a little bit here. We're almost at an hour, and given this is the first episode and kind of a about us and who we are and what we're gonna do in the future, I don't want it to be too long. I think in future episodes, when we're really diving in on a topic, we'll just really go down those rabbit holes and keep it going as long as we can stay awake. I know Dustin, it's getting a little later for you on the East Coast, but um, I think now would be a good point to let's go around and start with talking about one thing that's been kind of frustrating you in the last 2 weeks, and then also follow it up with a positive thing that's been happening in the last 2 weeks that you'd like to just talk about. So we can kind of just, again, transparency. We're just being honest, guys. And then after that, we'll go around the horn and do the question game. And then I think that might be a good place to wrap this first one up. And there will be plenty more to come in the future. So we'll go clockwise this time from me. So, Justin, you're up first. What is a frustrating thing that's been happening the last 2 weeks, but then also a good thing or a positive thing?
Frustrating thing that's been happening. Actually, go into the career thing. Um, just being happy in the career, one, and two, the amount of time I spend currently at my current career is keeping me away from my family and my wife
Mm,
and our daily activities and not letting it work out and do the exercise and the things we need to, especially for me, it's a mental clarity thing for me with exercise. So I've been able to do that. And it's frustrating as hell that, my wife's texting me videos, an hour or two before I get off, and it's my son, giggling for the first time, or, something that I'm missing that could be a monumental moment, and I'm not there, and extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
But a positive, there are there are a lot of things out there. There's always an opportunity. There's always ways to change things, and just keeping a positive outlook and just trying to, like I said, drop the crap you have at work and come home and enjoy it. Um, Ainsley and I have had a very good few weeks. We got vacation coming up, so we're planning for Bennett's first beach trip. So
Awesome.
that's a positive for sure because I'm really, really excited to see how he's going to interact with sand and the ocean and all that stuff. So
He'll try and eat it. Don't worry. He'll eat it.
Take baby powder. Baby powder is magic with sand. Ultimate dad hack. When you go to the beach, take tubs of baby powder. You sprinkle it on their hands and their feet, and it's like it just literally falls off. It's one of the coolest things you can ever do for your kid. Your wife will give you some super brownie points for it too. So.
Awesome.
Use those.
All right. Well, Justin, thanks for being transparent. Brandon, you're next.
Frustrating. To be honest, the only thing I can really think of, which is this is a great problem to have, is the only thing that's really been frustrating is not having enough time to do all the things that I want. And I think that's just more of me just trying to create better balance in my life. Like, I'm trying to work out every day, trying to get my steps in. I've had to put my Japanese, as you can see, on the back burner because I've been trying to prepare for my new adventure in the finance world. So, it's kind of frustrating not to get into the things that I was routinely doing. I kind of had a routine and a schedule. So, but I just know that comes with the territory of getting out of my comfort zone and trying to shift the balance a little bit in all the aspects of my life. So, it's a little frustrating, but it's okay. It's nothing I can't handle. Great things. Came home and my daughter just melted my heart repeatedly for about 20 minutes, just loving on me, kissing on me, opening the door so I get out of the heat. She had an egg ready for me with my wife when I got home, and she wanted me to. She pulled up a chair and said, "Sit down, Daddy. You're going to sit next to me and eat so we can talk." And like knowing that I've solidified the relationships that matter, so that when I come home, it's all as well. That's a sense of accomplishment, and it's a wonderful feeling, man. And I'm also very excited for this new job. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of people that are way ahead of me in the business world. I'm kind of an entrepreneur and a do-it-yourselfer, so it's like having somebody that's like uber successful at something, taking you under their wing and seeing your potential. And so there's a lot of things in the pipeline that are just extremely they're extreme blessings, but they're extremely exciting too. So
awesome. Good deal, Brandon. Dustin.
So my wife is a water quality specialist. So her career is super important to her. So our son is in daycare, and he catches every single bug that possibly comes through. So the poor kid is sick as much as he's healthy, and it just drives me crazy. It makes your heart just ache when you see him sneezing and coughing, and it's just awful. So that's been super frustrating. Just not being able to protect him. As a dad, that's one of the things you want to be able to do is protect your children. You can't protect them from things you can't see. These tiny little microbes just get in there and just make his life hell. And you can tell. I mean, he's such a happy little guy, and when he's sick, he's just not. Yeah. It's just cranky and unhappy, and that's really frustrating as a dad. I can try to help him get through it, and I think we both learn from it. And I know Brandon, you've told me it's an investment. They'll get sick a lot, and then eventually they won't because their immune system has seen all those bugs. Yeah. But when you're in the thick of it, and you're not sleeping because they're not sleeping, you get sick because they got sick. That is a huge source of frustration, for sure. But on the positive side, my wife and I are trying to make a little baby brother or sister for Lucas.
Awesome.
So we're doing a little brown chicken, brown cow.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's just say it's been a good couple of weeks.
Good.
Hey, if not to steal anyone's thunder, but if I'm being real, we are too.
Awesome. That's pretty quick, man.
Nice. Well,
you have 2 under 2.
Baby.
I wore the cone of shame for 3 days. I got fixed. I got snipped. I'm good and shooting the blanks. And so now me and my wife get to enjoy what God intended, which is just sex in marriage, and
Without-
I think
without
that's
the
something we
kids.
should also talk about in its own podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's so many taboo things about sex, and it's literally a gift of from God to strengthen a marriage. And I think that's one of the most important aspects of a marriage is to have a healthy physical and sexual life together. But that's
Awesome.
Good on you guys, man. I'm excited. I'm excited for y'all. So
Awesome. All right, well, Dustin, we'll be knocking on wood and praying that you are successful, but not too successful, right? You want to drag it out a little bit. Yeah. So, all right. I guess it's my turn now. So, frustrating thing. Y'all are gonna laugh because it's I'm literally raising me. So, my daughter is just so much like me. Very perfectionist. Wants to be right, all that kind of stuff. And just whether it's riding her bike or it's swimming lessons or whatever, she messes one little thing up and she just gets so down on herself. And it's just frustrating that, like, one, I kind of did this to her. It's like, you got that from me. And just trying to have to, like, help her unpack that it's okay. Like, it's not, it's spilled milk. No one's going to die, right? It's not a big deal, all that kind of stuff. So just trying to coach her through that and raise her. And it's frustrating to know that I basically, put off my disposition on my own child. So that's been a little frustrating the last couple of weeks, but positive thing. I recently kind of did an internal transfer at work, changing. So I was in new sales, like hunting sales, and have switched over to account management. And it's just been going really well. My client is just super awesome. They're just great people, and I really love working with them. So I felt like a really renewed sense of, like, what you were talking about, Justin, just being excited about your career. Because I was a little bit worn down with what I was doing before, and it was definitely kind of wearing on me. So things are going really good. I'm really, really thankful. Thanking God that He's really given me a great opportunity here, and so I'm just gonna keep doing my best, and hopefully it keeps going good here. But yeah, okay, we're gonna do the 10 questions going around the horn. But before I did that, we forgot to talk about how the name, the present father, is kind of a dual meaning. So one, we're in the present day. We have present challenges and things like that. So we wanted this to be a current day thing so that people can get input and advice from people living it today. Sometimes not to downplay books, right? There are amazing books. I've even referenced one myself, but in some cases have been written 50 years ago. So conditions are ever changing, things are ever changing. So we're in the present day. We want to provide present input, but it's also the idea of being present. Maybe not necessarily physically, right? Like, I travel for work. It's impossible for me to always be home, but being present when you're with your family is such a huge, factor of what makes good relationships and good parenting and things like that. So it's kind of that's the meaning of the name. We kind of kicked around a lot of different ideas, and I think we're pretty happy with this one. So hopefully it sticks. Hopefully it resonates with you. And I just want to put that in before I forgot. Okay, so what we're going to do is we put together 10 kind of basic questions that in the future we will ask of our guests to kind of get to know them a little bit better, and it'll be sometimes a little bit funny, I would imagine. And for this, since it's all four of us for our first episode, we'll just ask one question at a time, and we'll just go around the horn, and we'll just do them kind of rapid fire, and then we can have final thoughts and wrap it up, okay? So number one is your favorite sport. Let's say professional sport. Your favorite professional sport. Dustin, we'll go your way first.
Absolutely obsessed with tennis. When I was a kid, I got to be a ball boy for Serena Williams, Andre Agassi, all those kinds of guys.
Wow.
Absolutely my favorite sport. So I taught tennis for about 10 years, traveled all over the world as a tennis instructor, and it's just something I'm super, super passionate about, and I love watching it too. So great sport.
Awesome. Dude, I had no idea that you were like that into tennis. Awesome. All right, Brandon.
Would esports count? No, I'm just kidding. I am an avid gamer, but man, honestly, I love all kinds of sports, but I'd have to say Formula One, racing
Awesome.
sports specifically are huge. I'm a big car guy, so racing sports are huge for me. But man, Formula One is just next level amazing to me. So.
Nice. Okay, Justin.
Yeah, I like racing, but it's not my favorite. Baseball. Played baseball my whole life.
MLB. Okay.
Man.
All right.
It's amazing.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to say football, NFL.
Yeah,
Yeah.
football too.
For me, that's my
Hard.
number one, and then right behind that. Well, actually, if I had to flip it, it's actually college football and then NFL. But we said pro sports, so
Yeah.
NFL for me. All right, favorite team. We'll go in reverse here. Favorite team, or I guess athlete. So Justin.
Favorite team, Dallas Cowboys or Atlanta Braves.
Okay. Brandon. So I guess your favorite driver.
Yeah, I mean, our whole family's Dallas Cowboys, Atlanta Braves fans. We grew up in Atlanta, so that's a given. But a lot of our families from the Texas area, so those teams are great. Ole Miss, my wife and I are diehard Ole Miss fans. We both graduated there, so.
Sorry.
All right. So I guess Dustin, it's your favorite tennis athlete.
Well, I'm a Tar Heel. So as far as basketball teams go, man, March Madness is my jam. I'm a Tar Heel born, a Tar Heel bred. When I die, I'll be a Tar Heel dead. Absolutely love Carolina basketball.
Nice. Okay. Good deal. All right. For me, it is the Green Bay Packers and the Oregon Ducks for college football. Let's see. Next is your favorite music genre. I'll start this one. Mine is definitely metal and forms of metal. I play guitar on the wall. You can see it back there. And I love to jam. Dustin, you're next.
Man, I never thought I would say this, but I am in love with country music. I got to see George Strait and Willie Nelson last month in Austin, Texas. It might be the last concert they ever get to do, and I freaking love country music. Go figure.
Awesome. Brandon, you'll have
I
to
love
come.
all types of genres of music. I mean, I'm fascinated with everything, but drum and bass and EDM is my jam these days.
Yep.
Definitely on the same page with Dustin. I'm a country music guy. Zach Brown, Darius Rucker, the whole nine. And then I'm on page with George too. I'm a huge metal rock and roll fan. Depends on emotions. And then recently, since my son, I love classical music. Big on piano.
You say that, then you're going to find, I can't think of the name of it right now. Super Simple Songs. That's going to become your new favorite genre of music when he's about 2. Dustin, you're about to hit it.
Coco Melon playing in the back of my
Coco
mind.
Melon, that's another one. Coco Melon and Super Simple Songs is going to consume your life pretty soon for a couple of years. Get ready. All right, next one is your favorite band. So I guess I'll start again. I said metal. My favorite band of all time is Dream Theater. John Petrucci is the best guitarist who's ever walked the face of the earth, and the first time I heard him play a solo, I had no idea you could play guitar the way that he played the guitar, and it just blew my mind. I was 15 years old, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to be a rock star. And I've been in love with metal, and I've been in love with that band ever since that day. I mean, it was right before I started my freshman year of high school. I remember it that vividly. So, Dustin.
Yeah. So I grew up absolutely loving rock and roll. I think Linkin Park is probably my favorite band of all time. And man, I miss Chester. I can't believe the guy had 5 kids, had the whole world, and he ended up killing himself. I mean, you want to talk about hard conversations? How did that guy?
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about. Yeah. So pull one out for Chester, and love some Linkin Park.
Awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like you guys said, Breaking Benjamin, Avenged Sevenfold, all those guys were great. I transitioned to a different life, and the priorities and moralities changed. And when I got into EDM, like DJ Matic is really, really good. There's a bunch of other ones like Fox Stevenson, people like that I really enjoy as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I think Breaking Benjamin's my all-time favorite. So
awesome, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my Spotify playlist, I can't pick a favorite anymore. I listen to.
You got to try. Favorite means you got to pick. You got to try and pick one.
I'd say Zach Brown.
Okay, awesome.
100%.
All right, this should be a quick and easy one. Brandon, you can start. Whiskey or beer?
I actually don't drink alcohol anymore, but if I did, it would be whiskey with ginger ale.
Okay. Dustin.
I did a castles and Scotch tour in Scotland a couple of years back, and I'm all about some Scotch whiskey.
All right. I'll say whiskey too, but I can only have a couple. Justin.
Well, you know which one, because we've had some fun nights. Whiskey, 100%.
Yep. All right. Next question is: have you ever been in a fight, and what's the story behind it? Who wants to take that one first? We'll take a volunteer on this one.
I'll take it.
Dustin. No, Dustin put the hand up first. Dustin.
All right, Dustin. I'll fight you for it.
Ichitsuga Saka. I was a huge kid. I've been 6'4" since I was 11. So I think I would have been in fights when I was younger, but it was like, I'm not going to fight that dude because he looks like a giant human being. So as a kid, never got in a fight. I had to slap a man when I was in college, which is kind of a funny story. So I'm in my apartment complex, and we had to dress up in a suit and tie once a week for school.
Okay.
When I was going to anesthesia school, we get bonus points for it because they wanted us to be, it was a professionalism thing. And so I'm dressed in, nice suit, tie, everything. And I'm driving into my apartment complex, and this dude blows past me 40, 50 miles an hour in a area that's not appropriate for him. Like, that's weird, whatever. Pop into my house, grab what I need. 10 minutes later, as I'm pulling out, same freaking guy, 40, 50 miles an hour, blows past me again. I'm like, this is too weird a coincidence. No way. So as I'm driving past, I see he's at the mailbox with a couple of his buddies. And I pop out, and I go, hey, man, is your wife pregnant? Is there an emergency? Like, what's going on? And he said, well, nothing, it's whatever. And I said, the way you were driving, there has to be some reason you were doing that. And he said something like, if I can drive however I want. So I looked at him, and I'm not usually a man to respond with violence, but this was an appropriate time for it. So I open hand bitch slapped him. And I pointed my finger at him. I said, don't ever drive like that again. This is not okay. And his two buddies, I thought they were going to come at me and fight me. They just pointed and laughed at him.
He obviously had it coming then, because even his friends were like, dude, yeah, you suck.
So that's probably the closest thing to a fight I've ever been in.
That is hilarious. Wow. I did not see that coming. I figured it was going to be like actual blows, but you just walked up and slapped him, man. That's actually impressive. That is impressive. All right, Justin, you're eager, so you're next.
So actually, one of the fights I've been in, Brandon's old roommate, friend of ours, mutual friend. And then he had another friend that I was not a big fan of who was mooching and staying. And he said something smart ass to me. And I said, well, I'm not the mooch. He's living for free, am I? And he tried to get in my face. And I was like, oh, I remember my first beer cupcake. He didn't seem to like what I said. So he shoves me. And so I don't think he realized the fuck up he chose when I chose violence that morning. And anyways, I pushed him so hard because I was much stronger than he was and I'm much larger. He went flying back and fell so hard his knee hit his face going down. And he pretty much almost knocked himself out by himself. Gets back up all puff chest and acts like he's saying you got 3 seconds to apologize or I'm going to hit you. And I didn't even count to 1 and I fucking just clocked him as hard as I could in the face. And he kind of fumbled a little down and then I started just beating on his brain and comes up and he's like, what are you doing? Oh my God.
Nice.
Brandon has to break up the fight. So yeah.
Well,
I beat the shit out of one of Brandon's older roommates.
By morning, he means 2 a.m. in the middle of my kitchen. And we have, tenants downstairs and next door. And I mean, all you hear is just loud booming slams as each of them are hitting stuff. And it's like, I tried to break them up and I ended up catching hands as well. And then I got mad and started yelling at both of them. They finally stopped. But it was like, oh, what a mess.
Nice.
As far as fighting for me, I didn't really ever have street fights. I mean, I got hit in the head with a roll of quarters by a cheap shot, and I turned around and punched the guy, and he grunted a couple times, and I said I had to go to work. So that's about the extent of...
No. You're missing a story and a great one.
Well,
Warren and the guys at Ole Miss in the old apartment complex.
Okay, well...
that story.
Okay, so back in college, I used to drink and do a lot of stupid things, because that's what you do in college, I guess. And yeah, we were at a bar, and I guess some of my friends were hitting on some girls, and it made some other guys pretty angry. And apparently, they followed us back to our apartment complex, and like 4 or 5 of us had, like 7 guys come up and try to beat us up. Well, one of the guys grabbed a golf club and just started swinging on 2 of them. And then Warren is just he's like one of those cock strong dudes that can just throw a bull down, he's short.
He works on oil rigs.
Yeah, just super strong, right? And yeah, guy tries to jump him, and then another guy jumps in, and he's beating both of them up. And at one point or another, the sheriff show up, and he, has his gun drawn. He's like, get off of him. And and they both get their hands up, and he's still got the gun pointed, and the guy that Warren was on was like, "Look, I'm just getting my ass kicked. I didn't do anything."
No, the cop said, "What the fuck y'all think y'all's doing?" This guy goes, "I'm getting kicked."
Yeah,
Nice.
so it was a very funny. Like everybody busts out laughing. Even the police officer was laughing because
Nice.
the only thing the guy could say out, excuse my French, was that he was getting kicked. So
Nice.
but
All
yeah,
right.
it was funny.
Let's see, hard for me to kind of pick one. I did a lot of sports that involved fighting, so those don't really count because that was kind of intentional at that point. I guess I'll go. My brother and I fought a lot. Again, because he also played said sports where we fought, so we knew how to fight. I think probably one of the most memorable ones was, we were just doing what brothers do. He was pushing my buttons and I was pushing his and everything, and I think I was like a senior in high school, and we were both wrestlers and stuff. And so we started literally like swinging hands, hitting each other in the face, like full. I'm talking like full on clocking and still going and everything. And we grappled up and kind of like threw each other like simultaneously, and we both smacked into the wall so hard that like our knees and elbows just straight up punctured through the sheetrock. And our mom was so pissed because like behind me there's just like the imprints of like two dudes in the wall, and. So not that it was the most impressive fight I've ever had or whatever, but it was just kind of, I look back on it and laugh so hard at the fact that, I get, God bless my mom for putting up with that because there was a lot of that. But yeah, we had to go get a sheetrock kit and like repair the wall and everything. But yeah, so it kind of felt like the movies a little bit. Like afterwards, we were kind of like, hey, that was kind of cool. And we were like, yeah, man, that was cool. That's the funny thing about brothers too, is you can literally be punching each other and 5 minutes later, you're like best friends again. But, it honestly kind of felt cool, like we were in like some Jackie Chan movie or something where you like break through the wall, and he's like doing all the stunts and everything. So that's probably one of the more memorable kind of fights I've had. But yeah, all right, that was a long one. So next is number 7. If you could meet any person, living or dead, and spend the day with them, who would it be? One person. One person.
Oh,
I'll go first on this one because I already have it teed up. I would want to meet Theodore Roosevelt, spend a day with Theodore Roosevelt. And just learn from that guy. Because if you look into him, he was a very impressive human being. Who's next?
Mine's easy. Either Elvis or Johnny Cash for dead.
Pick one.
Or then I'd have to go with Elvis, man.
Okay. Elvis it is. Brandon?
Well, I'd say Jesus, but I'm gonna see him anyways after I die, so he doesn't count. I'm gonna say probably Benjamin Franklin.
Okay.
Would be my favorite.
Okay.
Founding father, very nice. I want to meet Alexander the Great. Man, that guy could party like nobody else, and he conquered the whole world. That's an interesting dude.
Definitely. Okay. All right, this is a little bit more personal, close to home. The best thing about being a dad. Dustin, why don't you go ahead and kick it off?
Man, just hugs and snuggling with my son. And there's nothing like that, when someone just loves you with their whole heart and doesn't even know why, they just know they do.
Yeah.
That's everything.
It's just pure, right? It's just pure love. All right, Brandon.
Yeah, I'd definitely say unconditional love, and they love you for who you are. The more you're yourself, the more they get excited and happy, and it's like you don't find that in the adult world often. It's a very rare thing. So yeah, that's my favorite.
Awesome. Justin? I know you're still a young one, but there's definitely highlights.
Man, his smile.
Yep.
Dude, he's the most joyous human. My brother can attest. I'm
That's
sure
awesome.
y'all have seen all those pictures. Literally every picture I have of him, he's a smiler.
Yeah.
And every morning, I have friends who are like, oh, I've got a newborn that's about the same age. And they're like, I just want to kill myself at 3 a.m. And I'm like, bro, I can't wait to get up and just kind of peek over that crib and just wait until I see him. And he's just staring at me, waiting on me. Like, what's up, man?
That's funny.
Come get me. Come love me.
Yeah.
So that's the best for me.
Best thing about being a dad, like when your kid finally like accomplishes that thing that they've been trying really hard to finally do, and this that raw moment of just like sheer excitement, and it's just it's kids are so animated, right? Because it's the first time they're feeling these emotions for the most of the time, And yeah, just those moments when my daughter will just do something and she's so pumped up about it, like you can't help but feel just as excited about it because like, oh man, it feels so good that, and especially if it's something like you help them get through, like when she first rode her bike without any help and everything, and just afterwards, right? Those moments are so valuable, and you'll never forget them. Okay, so now the worst thing about being a dad.
Watching my kid hurt.
Hmm.
Like, there's necessary things for them to grow. They have to hear no and they have to accept futility. That's one of the hardest things to learn in your emotional regulation journey. And futility, like watching my kid cry and suffer through that futility, that's tough for me.
Yeah. Justin, you want to go next?
Sorry, I was watching the monitor. My kiddos.
The sleepless nights, I guess, for you right now.
Yeah, well, yes, not so much. He's been sleeping since month one. We're lucky,
Wow.
man. We are so blessed. Like his
Lucky.
kids,
Very.
he's awesome. I'd say fear for him. Fear for his health and things like that. That's the hardest thing. And a lot of dads don't talk about it, but I know every dad, they're like, first few weeks, they're like listening, like, is he
Yeah.
breathing? Like, what the hell's going on? But like, yeah, that would be my biggest fear is like I know no father, and this is something we've kind of brushed on before, and it's a topic we'll leave for another day. But no father should have to bury their kid, and that's kind of that is my biggest fear actually now that he's here. So yeah, that's I guess the negative. I don't know.
Okay, Dustin, you want to go?
Yeah, it's all about protection. I want to protect my son from everything, and I can't because at the end of the day, that would harm him more than would help him. I mean, that too, he can protect him, but as he gets older, he's got to fight his own battles, and that's going to be really hard for me. First time a bully comes for him, man, that's going to be hard. I got to let it go and just let him fight his own battles, but I'm not going to want to. It's going to be a real challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, no protection for Kim though.
Yeah, don't piss off Mama Bear. Yeah.
No, I mean in like.
No, he wasn't talking about that.
Oh, sorry. I'm a little slow.
Violent
We gotta
chicken.
wrap this up. Here, I'll rephrase that. We got to wrap this up so Dust doesn't have to.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Worst thing about being a dad for me is it's those moments where you're just like, you've had a long day or there's just a lot on your mind, and then like your kid is kind of just like poking, they're hitting your buttons. And those moments where like you have to like really just like suck it up and keep your stuff together so that you don't just like blow up on them, because it'd be easy to, right? And I'm guilty of it. I've done it before, right? We've all snapped at our kids or spouses, and you regret it. And so like those moments, it's in those moments where you have to like, that's the defining second, right? Where like you've got to be the right guy on that second, and if you don't, like it can be really really bad. So I think that's one of the worst things about being a dad. I guess it's for mothers too. It's not just dads, but having to like commit to that decision to do the right thing in those moments consecutively.
Being consistent.
That's the like the unfun responsibility of being a dad, right? So it's like so high risk, right? Because if you do mess it up, it's just like, oh man, then you feel so guilty. But if you do mess it up, what I do is I go and apologize. Hey, I shouldn't have yelled at you or whatever, right? You gotta put it right, and that's you can demonstrate some positive out of that at least. But it's hard, man. That is always hard, especially if there's a lot weighing on you or work is just kicking your butt and all that kind of stuff. It's hard to keep it together. So, all right, the last one is: do you have any marriage or relationship advice? Like short, quick little advice.
I was gonna say I'll take a quick jab at that. 21 years of learning and experiences. Two key points. Create balance in your life, because when you don't have balance somewhere, it's suffering in that spot. Whether it's your wife, your kids, your time alone, whatever, health, spiritual, physical, mental, you got to have balance everywhere. And then I would say create boundaries that are clearly defined at the beginning of your relationships, or even in the middle of your relationships if they're struggling. Create boundaries. The boundaries are the most important thing, because it's like a good example. I cannot stand doing laundry, but my wife loves it, or she doesn't mind it. But I don't mind taking out the trash. So one of the things that we've said is one of our boundaries is I'm going to always take out the trash. Now, granted, there are times where I'll do both. It's not a big deal. But for the most part, the little things like that, we agree on who's going to do what. Because over time, if you don't do that, you get bitter.
Yep.
And then over time, things degrade, and your relationship either is going to need to be saved through counseling and different things, or you're just gonna it's just not gonna work. It's not gonna clash anymore or click. So I'd say boundaries, healthy boundaries, where you can be open about your thoughts, your feelings, and all those things together.
It's good. Who wants to go next?
I got this. So speaking of boundaries, I'm going to give you a little hot take here. I don't think it's a good idea to have any close female friends as a dad. I don't think it's think it's safe.
I agree.
If you put a bowl of M&Ms in front of me, and I have a conversation with you too, I'm going to eat an M&M. It's not that different.
Yep.
You put your hot female friend who's just a friend. You guys are hanging out. You can make a mistake.
Yep.
So my father was never around. And due to philandering, my grandfather, his relationship broke up. My uncles, all my close male relatives, and everyone I knew cheated on their wife at some point. So I kind of just thought that was standard. So in my 20s, I was like, I don't know about marriage, man. This is just what men do. We all cheat. It's just it doesn't work, right? And so I did a lot of reading, did a lot of soul searching, and talked to my wife Kim a lot about it. And we figured out. I guess it is a form of cognitive behavioral therapy. Like what you did, Brandon, where you just you look at reality and you don't say I'm a perfect person and I'm not gonna put myself in the situation and make a mistake. Mm-hmm. You're human, you put yourself in the wrong situation, you're going to make a mistake. So set yourself up for success and, make friends with other guys.
Yep.
And I got some older, like 70-year-old, female friends. I can do that. Right. There's nothing to worry about there. But I don't have any attractive young female friends, and I could, but I just don't. I don't need to put that kind of stress on myself. So again, hot take. And I know a lot of people say, I've got female friends. It's great. No big deal. But I don't believe it.
Yep. I agree. I think that's sound advice. Justin, do you want to go?
Sure. I'd say communication for sure. Empathy. Had another few words. Sorry, I just went blank.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, George.
Okay.
I'm trying to think and collect my thoughts. Sorry.
I'm gonna steal the words of my very good friend and wise friend Sterling. Justin, you know Sterling. He was in my wedding.
I love Sterling.
And
cool.
It was when my wife and I were at probably one of the lowest points in our marriage, and like literally had a lawyer on retainer, getting ready to get divorced, all that kind of stuff. And we decided that let's pump the brakes on this. We need to try and make this work for our sakes and for our kid. And it was Sterling who said, and by the way, just a little plug for him, like he and his wife have like the soundest, like everyone is envious of their marriage and what the life they've built. They're just like they're the power couple, right? And he was like, marriage is a daily choice, not responsibility. He said choice, and I was like, wow, this guy who was like the perfect, like everything's perfect in his life, basically, at least on the outside looking in, says it's a daily choice, and I was like, okay. So yeah, I mean it's true. My wife and I have been through some really rough times, and a lot of it is self-inflicted, right? We did it to ourselves and put ourselves in that bad situation. And I'm guilty of a lot of that on my end. But it's a daily choice to wake up, to choose your spouse, to choose your marriage, to choose that work, because it's not easy. And I'm not trying to say doom and gloom and marriage is a horrible thing, because when you do that and you go through those times together, it is so rewarding, and that relationship is so deep and intimate, not in a sexual way, but like you've gone through hell and back, with your spouse. There's a level of trust there you're not going to have with someone else. So it's worth it, but it's a daily choice. So.
Yeah, there's a quote. It's I can't remember who it was from, but basically it said, marriage is hard and being single and divorced is hard. And either way you look at it, your life is going to be hard. So you need to choose the hard. And, my personal saying is the grass is always going to be greener where you water it. So it's like you said, it's a daily thing where you have to be present in today and address things today. But, I think another thing of that is look at your own selfishness. A lot of people say, oh, well, it's just her. She's toxic. She's this, she's that. No, look at yourself too.
So that,
because
that
it takes two to be that
what
way.
you just hit on is another.
What I got from that was, when you're hard, water your wife's grass.
Oh man.
I need to get the soundboard set up so we can do the drum
Yeah.
roll.
Yes.
But on a serious note, with what you just said, I think that brings in a great topic that I definitely want to make one of our episodes, and that's accountability and having other men in your life, because you're not going to be successful by yourself. And like as lieutenants in the military, we always said like survive together or fail as one. But I think it's the same thing just as men in the world we live in. If you try and go on this on your own, you're gonna mess up. You're gonna do the wrong thing, and it's not gonna work out very well for you because no one's that good, right?
Yeah.
But especially when it comes to those moments, because I've been there too. Oh, my wife this, my wife that I deserve to be happier, right? Like, so I should get divorced. I don't. She's just weighing me down, blah blah. And it took another man in my life who I respected and could poke straight to my heart and said, yeah, but you do this, or you did this, or you're doing this. Stop it. What can you control? And it was like, ooh, just totally disarm all my anger, all my, just, ooh, right to the core. But if you don't have someone in your life like that to fight for your marriage too, it's going to be a lot harder. So that kind of goes hand in hand with what I said earlier about the daily choice, is also having a team around you to help you get through.
And I would say, if you don't have somebody like that, find a local church, or a group, like a small group that you would trust, that would be good, that matches your morality. And I would turn to those guys, because like I have a small group and we talk about everything, and it like you said, no man is an island, and so a lot of men want to naturally isolate, and isolation is just going to further dig the hole. So yeah, absolutely find men that you can, if you put the effort forward, you're going to find guys that are in situations like you, that are honest, that are good, that will call you on your stuff. It's just a matter of finding them and putting the effort to do it.
Yep. All right, Justin, I know you were kind of tip of the tongue there, so you got any final?
Yeah, so communication would be some of the best. There's 4 words I would use as marriage advice: communication, patience, tone, and empathy.
It's good.
At least for me, those speak louder than any other words, just because communication, whether I want to hear it or not, my wife's going to communicate with me. And I'm the same with her. I'll tell her, hey, I didn't appreciate what the hell you said there, or I think you're way out of line in this. Being able to say that and stand up and have the nuts to tell each other those things, it's not easy, but it's good because it's saying to the other person, hey, you really fucked up.
Well, and if you don't, right,
And
it festers, right? It's like poison
if you
underneath,
don't,
and it's
it
gonna
just
bubble
sits
up.
inside, and then it's a blow up, and a blow up is way worse
Yep.
than nitpicking and bitching at each other. But empathy, being able to see someone else's perspective and empathize with it is so big. My wife's saying something smart ass in the background. I'm choosing not to listen to it. But I would say tone. I can't tell you how many times I just completely shut down, stopped listening to, or did not give a shit when anyone said if they had the wrong tone with me. You use the wrong tone with me, I immediately lose all respect.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for the same for a lot of people, especially men, because we're stubborn, we're prideful, we can be a lot of the things that, women claim us to be. Who would thunk it? But,
Yep.
at the end of the day, tone's massive. Tone can change so much. If I said, hey, George, what the fuck? If I was like, hey, George, what the fuck? It's two different things. I know
it's a little sexual there.
Yeah, I did. You're my boy.
Are you hitting on George?
I am. But you get my point. It's
Whitney's gonna come in
tone,
here and be like, shh.
I know where you live.
Yeah.
We'll be like, no, you don't.
Yeah. No, those are good, man.
Like I said, patience. Like, man, patience is such a virtue, man. And I think God had a sense of humor. He made my wife. He's like, beauty, intelligence. She's gonna go after this, this, and this. And I'm out of patience. More beauty. So, like, all joking aside, like, patience is a big thing, and it's something that people have to learn sometimes. It's not a given trait.
Yeah.
So being able to tell, and like I said, communication comes back to that. If you can say, hey, you don't have patience, you need to learn to work on that. And let me tell you, being a father or a mother, that's a big dose of patience right there.
Absolutely.
Man. And I've seen my wife do a complete 180 from where she was, and then I have as well, on certain aspects, just because patience, man, it's a hard thing to have. It's like you said, being consistent when you get frustrated with your kid. If you can always have patience and be that dad who's like calm, cool, collected, even if on the inside you want to scream,
Mm-hmm.
and you're that dad who's like, it's all right, sweetie, like just chill.
Yeah.
They're always going to trust you. They're always going to come to you. They're always going to do the things that they need to in the time of their darkness or their need.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if you do those things, you're practicing those things enough as a couple or with your spouse,
Yeah.
in your marriage, your kids, it trickles down to them.
Yep.
So
Awesome. Okay, well, we are at about an hour and a half. This has been a really good first episode, guys. I am personally super excited for what we're going to do here. And I think let's go ahead and just wrap this one up. So just to recap, this is the Present Fathers podcast. This is our first episode to introduce who we are and what we're going to do. And Dustin brought forth the homework for our next episode, which will be on financial, managing your finances and being smart about that. So we'll get a little bit, we'll learn up a little bit on managing our money next episode. And just thank you guys for putting the time into this. And I'm so excited for what this podcast is going to bring. And hopefully we reach some dads out there and help them, feel encouraged and get through life, climbing the mountain of fatherhood. So any final words, guys?
no,
Okay.
I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we will catch you in 2 weeks on the next episode.